President Lai Ching-te announces new measures to counter a growing number of Chinese espionage and influence campaigns in Taiwan.
中国更利用民主台湾的自由与多元开放，在我们的内部进行分化、破坏、颠覆等活动。
That's just as a retired military officer is accused of trying to leak secrets about one of Taiwan's most advanced missile systems to China. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte is taken into custody by the International Criminal Court for murders committed during his deadly drug war.
At sinasabi ko naman sa mga pulis, military na trabaho kayo at ako ang managot. So ito na nga.
Plus.
And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security.
A pro-independence party wins Greenland's general election, crushing Donald Trump's hopes of annexation. Good evening, welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Joyce Tseng. Chinese espionage and national security were the focus of a surprise appearance by President Lai Ching-te on Thursday. Reese Ayers was there and is now live for us outside the presidential office in Taipei. Reese, what did Lai have to say?
Well, Joyce, a sudden and rather serious set of announcements from President Lai this afternoon here at the presidential office. After having a meeting about China's continuing attempts to influence Taiwan and infiltrate Taiwanese society. Now, he laid out a series of 17 measures that he said Taiwan must take to protect its sovereignty. We haven't got time to go through all of those measures in detail, but let's have a look at a few highlights. One of them was that Taiwan needs to work closer with its allies to communicate Taiwan's strong national will. Another one, and a big one, was reforms to military law. Now, that would include having harsher punishments for military personnel who are working on behalf of China, and also bringing back the military court system. Another one would be more closely monitoring Taiwanese citizens who go to China, and also looking at Chinese, Hong Kong and Macanese people who are looking to settle in Taiwan and further scrutinizing their applications. Also raising the awareness of risks of traveling to China for Taiwanese people, and making strategic adjustments to cross-strait economic and trade structures. Now, all this, Lai says, is in response to China's continued attempts to undermine Taiwan's sovereignty.
过去这段时间，中国更利用民主台湾的自由与多元开放，吸收黑道、媒体、名嘴、政党，乃至于现退役军警，在我们的内部进行分化、破坏、颠覆等活动。
Well, these announcements come just days after China held their two sessions annual meeting, and now that's a meeting of political bodies and politicians in China, where they discuss the country's policy goals, including for China, Taiwan. Now, China's premier announced at that meeting plans to bring Taiwan closer to China, including by promoting economic and cultural exchanges across the strait. And the premier said they had plans to work with, quote, our fellow Chinese in Taiwan to realize the glorious cause of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. And of course, for China, that includes Taiwan. Now, in addition, here domestically in Taiwan, there have been some ongoing issues raising concerns about China's capabilities in terms of influencing society here. Some of those surrounding Taiwanese military personnel being compromised, also government officials with links to the Chinese Communist Party. Taiwan also recently cut ties with several Chinese universities over fears that they were attempting to influence Taiwanese students studying there. And there's been a big furore recently with some Taiwanese influencers on social media, including a case recently with some high-profile Taiwanese artists who have been called out for posting on Chinese social media platform Weibo or reposting, calling Taiwan a province of China. Now, all this together has been enough to push Lai and his administration to take more of a fine-tooth comb to the many and varied strategies that China's using to infiltrate Taiwan and seal off those pathways that Beijing is using to get its hooks even deeper into Taiwanese society.
Thanks for the update, Reese. That was Reese Ayers live from Taipei. For more on the increasing security risks Taiwan faces from Chinese infiltration efforts, Tiffany Wang spoke with Tseng Kuoming, editor-in-chief of Defense International.
President Lai just announced 17 measures to counter Chinese infiltration efforts, especially those that target Taiwan's military. And there have recently been several cases where former or current military officers gave information to China. Could you talk about some of the measures that Lai has suggested, and do you think those will be effective in protecting Taiwan's national security?
其实赖总统说他可能要恢复军法审判这个很重要，这个很重要，因为其实呢，军法较一般的法律它比较严苛就是说它对于这些军人的规范比较严苛那甚至呢，以前还有部分的话就是限地枪决比如说你敌前比如说你在前线抗命disobey the order 的话，其实都会予以枪毙透过严格的军法来约束就人民去从军这个很重要，因为其实尤其是前几天，我们的空军军官居然把那个很重要的雄风飞弹的机密甚至我们的防空的拦截程序都已经给它泄露出去，然后呢，这个法院才求刑4年而已。这对我们来说，对一般大众来说，这个是泄露国防的重大机密，你怎么只宣判只求刑4年？这个对很多外国来说，外国对于这种所谓军事泄密案这个都是终身监禁。
Now, beyond China's increasing infiltration of Taiwan's military, do you think there's any other reason why President Lai chose now to address China's security threats to Taiwan?
那至于说赖总统为什么会这样子这么生气的，或者说强烈的推行他的意愿，或许跟美国有没有在底下施压不无关系因为其实往往我们看到一些我们政策的推动呢，往往都是很可能是美国私底下鼓励或者说劝诱台湾政府去这么做我觉得政府施政它有它的压力，这个是事实因为其实我们刚好在中美的新冷战之间，我们确实是不好施政但是其实我还是鼓励说朝野广开大门，密门协商，做你们比较好的政策的产出，这样会比较好。
That was Defense International's Tseng Kuoming. Sensitive information about one of Taiwan's most advanced weapons could now be in the hands of China. That's after a retired officer took advantage of U.S.-Taiwan defense ties to steal state secrets. Hamilton reports.
This is the Xiongfeng 3 anti-ship missile, one of Taiwan's most advanced domestically made weapons. But now, sensitive information about its use and deployment could have been leaked to China. On Wednesday, Taiwan's Defense Ministry confirmed a former Air Force officer surnamed Shi was recruited by China after retiring in 2008. He then persuaded an active duty air traffic controller to leak classified information. Both men were paid a combined total of just over $45,000 US. The case is still ongoing, but 3 people have already been indicted.
这个案子是政战局在112年1月接获官兵检举以后，那么通报国安局统合宪兵指挥部实施专案调查。那么在案件发现之初就采取了管控措施来降低损害。
Shi allegedly took advantage of the U.S.'s close defense ties with Taiwan. He's accused of pretending to be affiliated with an American think tank in order to convince service members to share intelligence. He was released on a $3,000 US bail last week, and the air traffic controller is still held in detention. The incident is just the latest example of Chinese espionage within Taiwan's military. Numbers from Taiwan's National Security Bureau show that 9 people were charged with suspicion of espionage from 2001 to 2009. Between 2011 and 2023, that number rose to 113 military and civilian personnel. Last year alone saw a record 64 people charged with spying. Sensitive information about how Taiwan deploys its fighter jets was also leaked, and military observers here said that information could be used to undermine Taiwan's defense.
现在我们的空防啊，我们的战斗机上去怎么样拦截？程序是什么？要去哪里站位？这个我们起飞的这个程序紧急起飞多久这还有调度被人家知道，我真是觉得这个非常的不好。
Fears are rising over the growing threat posed by Chinese espionage. Beijing's military dumps resources into understanding how its adversaries, countries like the U.S. and Taiwan, structure their defense.
目前会有这么多的 case， 主要是因为中国加大它的这个就是 operation， 所以都是用很小的代价。那象征就是这些比较比较低的 rank 的人他可能比较容易被受到金钱的诱惑。
As Taiwan's military steps up its counter-espionage efforts, it remains unclear how big the problem is. What is clear is that if the military hopes to counter the threat from China, it's first going to have to address the one in its own ranks. Fu Hong and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
A 2-year-old girl injured in a gas explosion in central Taiwan last month has died. Her death brings the number of people killed in the blast at a mall in Taichung to 5. The girl had been transferred to a hospital in her home city of Macao, where she was getting treatment for serious head injuries. She was with her family on the sidewalk outside the mall when the explosion happened. Her grandparents were also killed in the accident. South Korea has charged 2 Air Force pilots with criminal negligence for accidentally bombing a residential area. 8 bombs fell on a village near the North Korean border during a training exercise last week. They injured at least 29 people and damaged homes. South Korea's defense ministry says the pilots made mistakes when entering coordinates into their aircraft systems. The ministry's criminal investigation agency says they're still looking into the incident. A historic moment at The Hague. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte is now in ICC custody, accused of crimes against humanity for thousands of drug war killings. Chris Gorin reports.
Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte arrives at the International Criminal Court at The Hague, greeted by a crowd of supporters. After being arrested and extradited from the Philippines, the former leader seemed to stand by his war on drugs that has brought him before the court.
At sinasabi ko naman sa mga pulis, military na trabaho kayo at ako ang managot. So ito na nga.
The court says the international arrest warrant for Duterte has now been carried out.
And in issuing the warrant, the judges have found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte has committed the crime of murder.
Prosecutors say Duterte oversaw death squads during his time as mayor of Davao City and later as president during his anti-drug campaign from 2016 to 2022.
This is the first case, I think, that is going to deal with a situation that is not from sort of war or election-related violence. This is basically about extrajudicial killings within the so-called drug war. So I think it's also in that sense special, and of course it's the first case that relates to Asia that is leading to a trial. So in many ways it's really a first.
Supporters of Duterte have criticized his arrest, saying the court lacks jurisdiction. The Philippines withdrew from the ICC in 2019. Many also worry about the living conditions for the 79-year-old while in custody. But the Hague's detention center is better equipped than most prisons. Detainees have access to exercise facilities, computers, can cook their own food, and take yoga and pottery classes. Time is also a factor. Previous ICC trials have taken 6 to 10 years from arrest to verdict, meaning that Duterte could be nearly 90 years old by the time his trial is over. But families of those killed in Duterte's drug war say it's more than he deserves.
Po si Duterte may due process. Yung mga anak ko na pinaslang, yung anak ko wala pong due process. Siya po hihiga po sa magandang higaan. Ang anak ko po nabubulok na po sa sementeryo. 8 taon na po.
With a pre-trial process still ahead, Duterte's trial likely won't start this year. But whether he's convicted or acquitted, the ICC's first case against an Asian leader could have far-reaching impact. Patrick Chun and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
A pro-independence party has won Greenland's general election, rejecting U.S. President Donald Trump's offer to annex the Danish territory. But with a pro-mining faction in power, some Greenlanders fear the U.S. could still exploit the island's resources. Chelsea Wu reports.
Greenland's center-right pro-independence party has won the Danish territory's general elections. The result of the vote comes as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens to annex the island. This year's election focused on business development and mining. Greenland is home to just around 57,000 people and has been an autonomous Danish territory since 1953. It's recently found itself at the center of an Arctic power struggle. The United States views the region as vital to its national security, and China and Russia are increasing their military presence nearby.
It's about natural resources, and it's about Greenland's geostrategic location, exactly in the middle in the Arctic, in the middle between North America and Russia. So the shortest distance for nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles from Russia to North America would go via the North Pole and via Greenland.
The winning Democratic Party has firmly rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's offer for Greenland to join the U.S., with polls showing 85% of Greenlanders oppose the idea. But the party's push for mining reforms has many worried it could give the U.S. more access to the island's resources. Many residents also worry that the party's push for slow independence may not be ideal amid rising geopolitical competition in the region.
It is important, but I don't think it's going to happen now, especially with how the world is. I think if we become independent right now, America is going to take over.
As Greenland votes for a party that wants to move slowly towards independence, it's balancing economic growth with national sovereignty. With global powers eyeing the territory, the island is moving towards both change and an uncertain future. Heng Shi and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. chipmaker Intel has a new CEO. Industry veteran Lip-Bu Tan will head the embattled company at the center of rumors about a takeover. For more on Tan and Intel's future, Alec McDonald spoke to Bob O'Donnell, chief analyst at Technalysis Research.
Bob, I want to start off asking, what do we know about Intel's new CEO, Lip-Bu Tan?
So Lip-Bu Tan is a semiconductor industry veteran. So he was been on the board of Intel for several years, but one of his most prominent roles was he was the CEO of Cadence. Now, Cadence is a company that creates tools that are used to design chips. So the beauty of that, and the reason why I think he's a really good match for Intel, is this means he understands both the chip manufacturing side, which of course being the foundry side of the business, as well as the chip design side, which is the product side of the business. So in my mind, what he brings to the job is A, a great deal of knowledge and understanding of Intel, B, a huge amount of industry experience and connections, and C, knowledge of the critical areas that Intel, I think, is going to continue to move forward in. So in my mind, this should get rid of some of the questions of like, oh, are they going to sell off the foundry or what are they going to do? I think he's going to continue to focus on both of those things.
one of the interesting things is that he was previously on the board of Intel, but he left last year over disagreements with the direction of the company. And now he's coming back as the CEO. So what does this say about the direction that Intel is heading?
There's been a lot of debate about exactly what the board was trying to achieve, and then the conflicts, of course, that they ended up having with Gelsinger. So hard to know exactly for sure what the differences that Lip-Bu had back when he left, but clearly he had a vision for the company that obviously drove him to feel the way he did. And so, I think we're going to see him, try and deploy that vision. We'll find out more details moving forward. But certainly, if you look at the initial comments he made in the press release, it suggests very strongly, like I said, that they're going to continue moving forward on the foundry side, and they're going to continue on the product side, which I think they need to do. And look, it's a long-term process. It's not going to happen overnight.
Reuters earlier reported that TSMC and other manufacturers would be interested in a joint venture with Intel. So with that in mind, then what you just said about Intel's future, do you think that reported deal might still be on the table, or are we looking at that as probably no longer an option?
I'm guessing that's no longer an option. And I think that's part of the reason why the market reacted well, because all of a sudden it gives more of a clear vision for Intel. And there's been a lot of uncertainty around the company ever since, for several months, several quarters, not just having Gelsinger leave, but also, frankly, their financial reports, because they had to write down the assets of the foundry dramatically, and that has a huge impact on their profitability, which in turn impacted their stock price. And it just raised a lot of questions in the industry. I mean, Intel was the stalwart of the largest semiconductor company in the world for a very, very long time. So it's been a real challenge to see them kind of go through the challenges that they faced. But I believe that with this move, we're going to see discussions around JVs and other things go away. Still a lot of questions about what's going to happen with the CHIPS Act here in the U.S., and hopefully that isn't impacted, but that's yet another factor that may come into play. And frankly, another factor that may have influenced Lip-Bu to come back or not. I mean, all of these things are all going on simultaneously.
That was Bob O'Donnell of Technalysis Research. One all-female kung fu group in southwestern China has blown up on Chinese social media, blending traditional martial arts skills with modern dance. Cadence Quaranta reports.
On misty Mount Emei in southwest China, there's an ancient kung fu school where these women are practicing their moves.
我是从小习武，从12岁开始习武，可能因为家里爸爸比较喜欢练武术，然后就把我送去了武校练习，然后就是从小对武术就有一种热爱，觉得女孩子学这个特别飒。
Kung fu has long been a male-dominated art form, but these women have been challenging that idea. They're members of an all-female martial arts group that has blown up on Chinese social media. They post videos of their performances on Douyin, China's version of TikTok, and they've gained over 1 million followers. The group, called Emei Kung Fu Girls, mixes traditional kung fu with modern dance. Dancer Duan says she hopes the group will inspire more young girls to take up martial arts.
就可能他看到我今天练武术特别帅、特别飒，他可能也会引导很多女孩子来学习武术。就是不管是强身健体啊，还是自我防卫啊，我觉得对女孩子都是一个很好的出路。
The videos are also spreading Emei-style kung fu to more people. Originating from Mount Emei centuries ago, it's one of the main martial arts styles in China, but it hasn't become as well known as others, such as the Shaolin style.
然后我觉得峨眉武术它是中国传统文化，然后它有很多历史的东西啊，我觉得是一个非常好的传承的东西。
这个就是在宣传的这个场面上，就比过去的这个力度就更大，这个了解峨眉武术的人也越来越多，想习练峨眉武术的这个群体越来越多。
this ancient art form swiftly gaining new popularity through modern social media. Klein Wong and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Before we go, check out Mika, the polar bear cub, who's made his first public appearance at a zoo in Germany. I'm Joyce. Have a good evening.
Game on Taiwan. The wait is over. Baseball returns as the CPBL kicks off its new season, expecting high-energy plays and fierce rivalries on the diamond. The UBA and HBL basketball tournaments are heading to their epic final showdown, where the best teams fight for ultimate victory. And the excitement doesn't stop there. Tour de Taiwan is here, with the world's top cyclists pushing their limits through Taiwan's breathtaking landscapes. This month, your heroes give it all. Game on Taiwan. The action starts here.